Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Mike for episode 92. Oh my gosh, for Monday, the 15th of August, 2022. And this week's show, we'll be discussing all the hype surrounding fighting games, news from Evo 2022, highlights from Nintendo Splatoon 3 Direct, which we already covered midweek, but, you know, we got to keep talking to you about it. And the Analogue Pocket gets support for some classic SEGA consoles. Nice. Shut up.
Oh,
There's no music.
You guys can't hear it, can you?
No, we can't.
That was the one thing I didn't test.
Yeah. How do I know how long I have to keep doing this shit for?
There's no music, Mike, I don't think.
Oh, let's just go straight into it then. All right.
Wait, what am I doing? Wait. Wait. I can actually get this.
We are live.
I can play the intro. Ready?
Oh, God,
just
all right.
do the throw again, just the last line. And the Analogue Pocket.
Okay, just the last line. Okay.
I don't trust
and the Analogue Pocket gets support for some classic SEGA consoles.
Bigwig's on the radio. Shut up. It's gaming podcast audio.
All right. Welcome, everyone. We've got Intergot, the executive producer.
Hello.
Over to my...
I am on...
Confused.
I'm holiday mode at the moment, so...
Oh, in holiday mode. I was wanting to see what was coming up today.
Yeah, boy.
Oh, what is that? What are you holiday moding? Are you allowed to drink?
Alcohol.
Oh, it's not alcohol. You're allowed to drink live.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I'm not allowed to swear in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But you're allowed to drink
first 1
alcohol and
hour.
take drugs in the first 1 hour? What?
You know, you threw me off so much with your editorializing in the intro again that I
Yeah.
pressed the wrong button. Because I was like, I'm going to
only
type
made-
something to you.
A slight adjustment. A real slight adjustment. Very slight adjustment. Just an addition to one of the middle lines. Really tiny, just like your penis. Anyway, over to the other side, I got Swinny, our editor-in-chief, whose run sheet I keep butchering every single week. Sorry.
That's all good. I'm just a heads up. I might sound a little different today because I'm a little coming off the back of a virus that is
You got the vid.
a virus
He's got
that
the
is my Jesus Christ, that is not COVID. So I happen to be one of the fortunate
right.
people to get something that's not COVID. So
He's transitioning to male.
Nice. Finally. All right. So attracted to you now.
Can we reverse the entire show, content-wise, host-wise, into 3 weeks ago? You guys aren't making those jokes anymore.
No,
Yeah,
we
right,
are
we'll
now... This is the new show format.
Yeah.
Mike is the
we-
host of the show. It's the tone of Mike, is it not?
Yeah. We
I
got
don't
two
like the
idiots on show now.
editorializing, though. Like, Swinny is beautiful words. He's a wordsmith.
Okay, I'm
And
sorry.
you actually make it worse.
He
It's
does have
amazing.
beautiful words that come out of his fingers that he types. And also beautiful words that come out of your mouth.
No,
I love it.
He does it with his mouth, like Stephen Hawking style.
Oh, no. Okay, all right. Anyway, as usual, you can find links in the description below or at bigwigpod.com. Follow us or don't follow us. You know our socials.
We don't
Everywhere
care.
We're Bigwig Pod. We don't really care. He's on holiday. He clearly makes enough money to go on holidays. He doesn't give a shit. So, we got a correction this week, I believe, about Crypt of the Necrodancer.
We got two corrections.
Who put that in?
The first one is that I'm correcting. Well, it's kind of like it's more just like missing information from last week. So we talked last week about the fact that they're releasing new DLC for the Crypt of the Necrodancer, and we're like, oh, that's and I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's so long after. I just wish that the take those features and put them into a new game. And somehow I missed last week that alongside that DLC news, they did actually announce a brand new game called Rift of the Necrodancer. So I actually completely missed that news story. So they are actually making a new game. So
Yeah, I missed that news story as well. It's not really a correction, I don't think, though.
Rift of the Necrodancer. I don't know what style. It's obviously a written game, but I
like
don't know
the
if it's
name.
exactly like Crypt or not. But I just wanted to just say that, hey, we actually forgot to mention there's a brand new game because we didn't know. So
But it's not really a correction, though, yeah?
no, missing information.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
fine.
I've got a correction as well.
Yes.
I don't know if it was last week's show or the week prior. So around Analogue Pocket, there's a Neo Geo core coming out. and I said that the FPGA dev was an Aussie. But when I did some research for this week's show, I didn't notice that he had a long blurb at the end. That's how much I read of it, where he was calling out, "I am not an Aussie. I'm a Kiwi." So this is Mazamaz 312. So he's a Kiwi who moved to Australia, and when he set up his GitHub account, it's set it by default to Australia. So everyone thinks he's an Australian. Now, as Australians, this is a very sensitive thing, right? This is like if you're, a Canadian and someone goes, "Oh, you're American." Like, it pisses people off. So
Yeah, but what if you move to that country and then you set up an account and then you're working from there? Are you still...
I think if you're a Kiwi, it comes to Australia, you're always a Kiwi.
I guess.
Unless you're like Russell Crowe and you pretend to be an Aussie.
Well, I lived in New Zealand. Other than giving me shit for the
So
first...
wait, are you a Kiwi then?
Well,
Technically,
no,
by my rule, you're a
technically,
Kiwi.
By your rule, I am,
He's a
but
Kiwi vampire.
I feel like a guy stopped giving me shit about that 20 years ago.
I don't know if we ever gave a shit
I
about
don't
it.
think
but-
we
Yeah,
gave
you
a shit
did.
about other stuff.
Yes, it
I
did.
don't think we
You
ever give a shit
used to
about
give a shit
being
about it all the
Kiwi.
time, the way I used to pronounce my words. I couldn't say six. Remember when I first came to Australia, I literally
How
could
would
not
you
say
say
the
it?
word six. I used to say sex.
Sorry? This is a kids podcast.
That's how they say it in New Zealand. Even kids say sex.
Oh my god.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sweeney's head's just turning. He's like,
It's true,
what has
though.
happened to this show?
Ask Joe, his partner's from New Zealand. See how she says sex.
I'm actually trying to limit like the extra like sentences I'm saying this show because I'm still a bit sick. But unfortunately, all it's leading to is just a lot more awkward silences because I'm not saying anything.
Yeah,
so.
you got to contribute to the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
all right.
I have a question.
So you got a question? Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, we're gonna get the show moving again, even though you're hosting. So I have a question, very serious question.
Okay.
Let's say that you sleep in the nude, right?
Well, let's not say I do.
I heard this, like there's someone talking about this anecdote, so I thought it's an interesting question for me
Mm-hmm.
at least. So let's just say you sleep in the nude, right? And then you're awoken to your house on fire, alarms blaring, everything like that.
Wouldn't
Do
happen
you
because my batteries are
just
dead, but
bang
okay.
run out of the house because it's on fire, right? Save your pets and stuff like that, or do you first put some pants on? And let's say the pants are just not easily accessible. You have to go and grab them, put them on, and then go grab the pets. But you're risking the pet's life by doing that. What would you do?
Of course, wait, first of all, you're asking me. I wouldn't give a shit about walking outside in the nude. Sometimes I do it regardless.
So you just
But
run and grab.
I'll just take the cat and run. Yeah,
grab the cat and go. Okay. How about you, Swinny?
100%.
That's actually a tricky question
Yeah.
because
Why is it a tricky question?
because I don't want to be bloody just stark naked when like there's
You
like
have a cat. Who
everyone's
cares?
hanging around. Well, first of all, I don't have any pets, so but if,
Okay.
Let's say
the
you do. In this
hypothetical, the
hypothetical,
hypothetical.
you
Say
have a
in this
dog.
hypothetical scenario, you have a dog,
I-
and you could use a dog to cover up your bits.
I'd probably really try to grab something. From my bed.
Wow. And
I
you
would.
would risk your dog's life just so people won't see you naked.
Maybe it's
You're a-
hard. It's hard to know how you
you're a
handle these
monster.
situations.
good
All I know
question,
is
though.
that when I live in an apartment block, or whenever they do the, there's
Fire
been
drill?
2 actual fire alarms, not tests,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I take a lot longer to get out of that apartment than I probably should. It's kind of like I think you realistically like, oh, I need to grab this and this and this quickly, whereas
Yeah.
if realistically you should just get out, like as long
Yeah,
as you don't lock
naked
yourself in
with your
you know?
cat.
I remember when I was consulting to NAB and I had a little team there, the fire alarm went off and I'm like, all right, let's go get our laptops and pack everything up and go. And the whole team was like, you're insane. This is a fire alarm. Let's just go. Like, why are you grabbing your laptop and stuff?
Because
Like,
you just want to leave at the end
no,
of the day
because I'm
and
like,
come back.
we might not be able to work.
Oh,
They're all like,
God.
that's great that we're not working. Yeah, it's a good question to ask, Winnie.
Once again, Indigo, I'm very glad you're not my boss.
a good
Yes.
boss.
in a
People
work
like
environment.
No,
So-
but that's I take offense at that.
He's a
People
good
think I'm
boss as long as you do a lot of hard work.
Well, okay, so you have to work. Oh, geez, that's terrible.
No, actually, that's true. I don't have to work because I mean, look at how much I do on the podcast, so I'm still not fired. Anyway,
I think
Moving
he
on,
forgot he was, I think he
moving
forgot he was a host for a
Good
second.
question, though. Good question.
very good question. I like
Thank
it.
you, thank you.
And definitely naked with my cat. So, what have you guys been playing?
Oh my god, I gotta get like the synchronicity as the executive producer.
that's
So
gonna be
this
a bit
week
hard.
you didn't say who, but I guess you're talking about me.
Well, you can go first if you want.
I clocked Donkey Kong 1994, the Game Boy game.
Okay.
Very good game. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it, Mike. When you get around to updating that pocket that you so desperately coveted that you called me an asshole. Oh no, you actually called me a C word. But so that was cool. I am starting to play through Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. I've never played any of the. I've actually never played more than an hour or two, really, of any of the like Super Mario RPG / Paper Mario series. You know, that whole sort of wider series, Swinny. It's kind of like separated now, but
Not counting, like, you played the original Mario RPG, though?
no, like maybe
Wow,
for an
that's
hour or
crazy.
two.
Wow, that's crazy.
I just like honestly, I'm not an RPG person. Like I just realized that now with Earthbound and a few other games. I'm like, I love Final Fantasy VI, but I'm not an RPG person. But I don't know, Mario RPG. I really, really, really want to play it on a CRT. So that's what I want to do. So that's coming up. I think something about the graphics of Mario RPG feel it lends itself so much more to a CRT, the way they've like designed it, the art style. But yeah, so this is again on the Pocket. And it's like the writing of this game is awesome so far. Like it actually is kind of blown me away. And I know that these series are pretty famous for their good writing. So, and you know, it's a really fun battle system. Like that's sort of classic to this this series of like, you know, it's more action turn based. What would you call it, Twinny? You're more familiar with this whole world.
Well, what's that term I coined? A reaction RPG?
Reaction, right? Yeah, exactly.
Reaction RPG.
Reaction.
Reaction RPG.
So it makes sense.
I really like that.
Yeah, like and like really cool game so far. So really looking forward to playing more of it. Outside of that, started playing God of War again. So actually to test, I'm so debating about getting this Backbone controller. So I actually went back to using the clips when on PS Remote Play. I actually don't mind the clip as much as like it was kind of bothering me before. So there's something about the Backbone that worries me. Like just I don't have my DualShock in front of me.
For the back of the.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I don't know. I don't think I'll go back to the Backbone. But man, God of War, just going back to it and playing it, I'm like, that game is like dripping in like AAA quality. It's so insane how AAA that game is. The other one is Rocket League. So I'm on holiday. So I'm like,
Rocket League?
oh, maybe I'll just like install Rocket League again, which, you know, is a bit dangerous.
No.
And I actually uninstalled it within like 3 games.
Whew.
I know I've said this before. I could just turn off all the chat and everything like that, but it's so toxic, man. It's just bullshit. Like they honestly should do something about how bad the community is. It fucking pisses me off. It's like it literally makes the game not fun because it's just like people are absolutely dickheads about it, and I don't know. I used to just turn the chat off completely. But I feel like that kind of misses half the point. I don't know. Anyway, it really pisses me off, man. Community sucks in Rocket League. And so I uninstalled it, which is probably a good thing for my productivity and well-being. And then the last one was I was going to get Cult of the Lamb. And this is, Mike, I'm in this kind of like tricky situation that you would understand. I'm like, okay, it feels like a game you want to sit back on a portable, play. But the Switch version, and then also there seems to be like a lot of bugs with the game, and like people are getting like, you know, game breaking bugs in the game, like laying tiles. You can never overlay those tiles in certain areas, and it's like,
Wait, just for the Switch or
no,
general
that's
game
across the
break?
whole game.
Okay.
So I'm just not the kind of person who, like, if I hit a game breaking bug, I'll just never go back to that game, and it'll be dead to me, right? So, and it sounds like a really good game, so I'm actually just gonna let it cook. It sounds like it's got a lot of buzz. I'm sure they'll update it, fix it. And now I missed this window, so I'll just go, I'll just wait till it goes on sale for the first time. But like, this is another example, man. I reckon if I had one, I reckon I'd be getting it on the Steam Deck. It just feels like, you know, it's got a bit more oomph, you know?
There is one new device that just came out, I think, from Anbernic. I've spoken about Anbernic before. They did the
Yeah.
emulation devices and whatnot. And it's a Windows-based device. Runs on an
this shit.
Athlon 3050 or something. No, actually, it's surprisingly not bad. You don't expect, it's effectively like a lowish tier laptop by today's standards in that sense. So it's not quite as powerful as some of the other handheld devices or the Steam Deck, but the price is competitive. So landed in Australia, it's like $500, and I'm bloody tempted.
You should get one.
I gotta say this real quietly because my girlfriend's in the other room, but I'm really, really tempted to get it. Yeah, and I've seen people run like some stuff, and it runs really, really well.
You know what's going to happen, Mike?
Yeah.
Is that you'll get it, and it'll probably be a decent device, and you'll probably like it. But then they'll announce that the Steam Deck is coming to Australia by
That's
EB
exactly
Games,
what will happen,
and you'll be like, "God
I
damn
know,
it!"
God
Hey,
damn it.
what
But
do
you
you
can put
reckon-
Steam OS on it and stuff. So
With the Steam Deck,
pretty cool.
Mike, what do you think? I was like tempted to do this. Should I create a Twitter account that will alert people when the Steam Deck comes on sale in Australia? Like the first minute it comes on sale?
Yeah, why not?
Why are you asking? Because you're going to do it.
But do you think that
anyway.
would be useful?
It'd be useful.
All right, I'll do it
Absolutely.
then. I'll do
Because
it.
I know I'll miss it by, 10
Well,
minutes
that's-
and it's all sold out.
The reservation system's brutal, right? So if you don't get in there. So
yes,
all right,
please.
I'll do that. But yeah, that's me this week. So I played a few games. I actually haven't played as many games given that I'm on holidays as I thought I may. I was chainsawing and doing other things. I was literally chainsawing, and my mega boss called me to say, I hope you have a good holiday and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, I was just chainsawing. She's like, chainsawing? What the hell are you doing on your break? So yeah,
But these people don't have trees.
no. I got some firewood if you want some, Mike.
Just because people
got plenty of
have
that.
trees, don't assume that they're into chainsawing, Mike. I've never chainsawed in my life, so
Yeah,
fun.
but you live in an apartment.
I didn't used to. I used to live in a place that had trees, and I never used to chainsaw.
Okay.
Yeah,
You missed
but
out.
that's me,
Chainsawing
Mike,
is
that's me.
amazing. All right. What about you, Swinny?
Yeah, so I haven't played that much because I have been unwell. So it's kind of just been two games that really I've spent any time on. One was after the show, actually, last week. I wrapped up Rise of the Third Power. So I talked briefly about this game last week. It's the classic style RPG that came out earlier this year from Stegosoft, who are the makers of Arafel, another highly regarded classic style RPG. And I talked about the fact that, I absolutely thought it was an absolute gem last week. And when I went to finish it up and I completed it, finished on expert mode, a really good challenge. It's one of my favorite games of the year. Like, this is, for me, a contender for my game of the year so
Whoa.
far.
More
it
than
is-
Elden Ring.
I'm saying
a contender?
they're both
Yeah.
contenders. So
Okay.
this
Is in your top
this-
six.
This looks sweet. This
I mean,
this
like,
looks really
there's trust me, like there's this game has for me has a lot going for it. So much so that I could easily choose this as my game of the year. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's not.
Hey,
it's not
wait,
perfect.
I've learned from the Skyrim bullshit. That's a total fucking lie.
It's anyway. It's not my. It's not perfect, but just like Elden Ring isn't perfect either. There's some parts of it that I think Arafel actually did better. They're very similar games in some ways, but they're differently designed in terms of how you progress through the game. This is a much longer game, much more to it. Like, it's a much bigger scope to the story. But I actually think it's absolutely fantastic. I think Stegosoft, with those two games, are probably one of the best at that style of game as modern developers. Like, I'm so looking forward to what they're doing next. I think that I read an interview somewhere that they designed this game to make it so it could have a sequel. So I would love if they actually do a follow-up to this game and pick up on some of the story threads, because it doesn't actually wrap up every story thread, and now that makes sense after I read that. It's like, okay, I could really see where they could go with some of this stuff. But really, really cool, awesome characters, absolutely hilarious dialogue, and the battle system. As I said, I was playing on expert. It forces you to use every element of the battle system, and it's really, really cool. So
Can I also say, how good is the bloody interface?
Rise of Third Power is a gorgeous looking like pixel art game.
But not
It
just
is.
the art, I mean the interface. How
Yeah.
clear and simple things are laid out. Just the padding between items, the clarity of what each thing does. I don't know,
Arafel
so
was the
good.
same, Mike, and that game goes on special all the time on the Switch. I recommend trying Arafel as well, because that one
Okay.
will definitely be cheaper to pick up. As I said, there's some stuff in Arafel I actually loved more than this game, but I could see why they changed it up. They wanted a bigger scope, which meant they couldn't probably do as much detail in the maps as, because Stegosoft is a very small team. So the fact that they have put out these two really high quality, classic style JRPGs in within the last like 7 years or whatever, I think is absolutely fantastic. So Rise of Third Power, highly recommend this game.
Cool.
And for a game that I don't recommend so much is actually the latest Kemco release on Xbox. The game I was actually really hyped for because it's a Hit Point developed game, which is Gales of Windoria, or Gale of Windoria, I should say. I love Hit Point's games, or most of them, but there's just something about Gale of Windoria that just doesn't hit the same. I think it's
It's like a mobile game. Did you play it on mobile?
I mean, it is a mobile game, but you can play it on console as well. Like all Kemco's published games are these days. But I think I think the issue is that Hit Point's other games, they have a bit more going for them in terms of like a setting and like a bit more of a hook. This just feels really by the numbers. It really feels like a take on your Final Fantasy 1 style simple story of, there's 4 elements. We're going to go to each area and battle the different elements. And it's just stories just really run of the mill. The battle system's okay. It's side on, unlike most of Hit Point's games, which are first person in the battles. And they've got this quartz system where you attach different abilities and then level them up individually by like using other ones. And it's just like needlessly complicated. I just think they tried to do something different, but it's just more finicky than anything else. So yeah, I'm pretty close to the end of this game, but it's not one of Hit Point's best, far from it. So that's Gale of Windoria.
When are you thinking of updating the tier list?
Well, when I finish this, there's one Kemco game that I have to catch up on, but unfortunately it's one that I
Absolutely
really don't like.
right? Yeah.
Oh, look, hate's a strong word. It's just that it's got really weird input delay. It's called Legend of Ixtonia.
Input delay.
Really weird input delay, but it's a tactical RPG, which means you're menuing all the time, and it feels really weird, like you're pressing down, and it's got like this weird delay. So I don't know. I haven't gone back to it. I hope maybe they've improved it, but it's also probably the one of the hardest completions I've done, so it's not something I'm looking forward to going back to, because I'm not a big tactical RPG person.
Yeah,
so...
no, that's the thing. You're not even a fan of that genre,
No,
and it plays
so-
poorly. And okay, so after you finish that, you're gonna update the tier list.
Yeah, we'll see. I may update it before then. I'll see how.
How
it
many
goes.
editions are there since we did it?
I don't know. I think maybe 5. So
Wow, Jesus. Okay, interesting. All right, cool.
cool.
Very good. So I've been playing. Well, I would have loved an introduction, but whatever. Screw you guys.
You're
So
the
it's in the
host.
middle of coughing my lungs
You're the
out,
host.
so I'm just
There's
like,
no introductions for the host.
I forget that I have all these extra powers now. Okay,
Powers.
I don't
love
want to
how he calls
abuse
it
them.
powers.
I don't want to
Responsibilities and not powers.
I have the power and responsibility to move segments. Oh my gosh, it's just too much. It's too much for me. So I've been playing a game that I randomly grabbed on Steam, probably because I was feeling horny at the time, called Lust for Darkness.
Yeah.
I had never heard about it before. It just randomly came up in my suggested list, or just like on sale on the front page or something.
Now, can I just pause you for a second?
Yeah.
Just for the behind the scenes, the BTS. I think maybe it was you, Swinny, or I don't know who was it. They put in a little marker to say there should be B-roll for this. Was
It wasn't
Mike?
me.
I didn't.
No,
put
no,
that
it
there.
was. It was there, right? There was a little marker, like brackets X, right?
I wouldn't have, because I'm definitely done. I don't think.
Oh,
you should put B-roll
okay.
for this.
Yeah, all right. So
So
I think that I might
went
just
in-
put them next to both. I didn't know. First of all, I wouldn't have assumed Mike's talking about a fucking
Dude.
an erotic game.
Well,
Dude, just
when
let
I
me,
did
let me. So
should explain
I went and sourced the B-roll, and as you know, the good executive producer that I am, I watched a fair chunk of it, and I'm like,
Thank you.
we definitely cannot show B-roll for this. It is like our channel will be tanked straight away. It's
That's hilarious.
crazy.
That's hilarious.
There's like
Mike,
no good part to
all
show.
right. Mike,
Unless
please,
there
please
are, there's some
explain. Please
parts.
explain why you're talking about this erotic game.
Well, I'm only talking about it, like I said, because I randomly grabbed it. So, look, the game itself, if you've played games like Amnesia, any of the Amnesia games, it feels very similar so far. Other than it's a little, explicit. There's a lot of ducks
very
and
explicit.
bits and pieces, if that makes sense.
The opening segment has like this machine that is
No, there wasn't. That's not actually. So honestly, I'm not up to the really bad parts yet. So far, it literally feels like a slightly. No, actually, it feels on par with Eyes Wide Shut. If you've seen Eyes Wide Shut, that's kind of what it feels like so far.
But that's pretty
This
horny.
game came out in 2017. How did you just randomly buy this game?
Like I said, it
just
came
don't
up on the
try and
Steam.
understand.
It just came up on the Steam
It's
thing
for
that it was
him.
on special.
For him.
Okay.
It's
And,
machine learning.
No, I actually think maybe the
detecting his
sequel came
horniness.
up. Probably. I think the sequel might have come up.
I'm
and then
on
based
the
on
Lust.
sequel,
I'm on the Lust verse wiki right now. There's an
have a
actual
wiki?
wiki dedicated to this
okay.
series.
So look, I honestly, the weird thing is, so it's sort of got like a bit of I don't know, slight Giga-esque sort of feel to it. Definitely, what's the Sunken City and some of the
Lovecraftian.
a bit of Lovecraftian mix to it. I do like this kind of games, basically adventure games that are really dark.
I just on this one page, and it was the location of Lustgar. And it says Lustgar is an extra-dimensional plane of existence in which the cult of ecstasy believe their salvation resided. What the fuck are you playing this game, Mike?
Well, like I said, it's just an adventure game.
It's
and
a
so
horny
far,
game.
I only got to the part, and I don't want to spoil it in case people want to play it, the part where you go into that extra dimension and stuff, and it is pretty bizarre. And look, it's been an alright experience so far.
This is the equivalent for Mike. It's like I grew up playing Super Mario Brothers and then, move on to Super Mario Odyssey recently, He grew up playing Sextras and now that's why he needs to play.
Natural progression.
Lust for
Actually,
darkness.
it does remind me of a game, if you guys want to Google it, called Dark Seed in 1.
Dark
It was
Seed?
Dark Seed
Like
1.
the-
Yeah, I
the
remember
enemy
Dark
in
Seed.
DC.
Yeah, I remember Dark Seed. Yeah. That was HR Giga to the max because it used the
Is it
artwork
Giga
and
or
stuff from
Giga?
memory.
How do you say that?
I don't remember.
In your
exactly how to say
defense,
his
Mike,
name.
the more I'm
Giger.
reading up on this, it's not too far removed from something that I could see Clive Barker working on. So
Yeah.
I love Clive
He's
I don't think
another
it's that
horny
bad, yeah.
writer. I love
Honestly,
Clive
I
But
Barker.
that's what
you
I'm
would like
saying.
it.
That's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
you
So
would
in
like
his
it.
defense,
It sounds worse. Well, it actually is pretty bad, but it kind of sounds worse as in, it's probably just some stupid. It's not. It's if you like games like Amnesia, this is right up your alley. Just more explicit.
You can't even look at the Steam page unless you're logged in. Like that should tell you
It's-
everything you need
yeah.
to know.
So look it up. Anyway, for a bit of a change, the other game that I played was House Flipper. Yeah.
also an erotic
So-
game.
Also, well, it's super erotic. I get a hard on for demolishing walls.
Chainsaw.
You've played this. You can't use the chainsaw, unfortunately. You've played this as well, if I remember, Swinny.
Yeah,
'cause
played
you
it,
talked about
played it
on-
like 4 hours in one sitting the first time I played it.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think I could do full 4 hours. So I played. I did a whole bunch of shit. I think I've done. Well, I'm assuming most of the stuff that you can kind of do in the game is in knock down walls, put new walls, paint the walls, buy furniture, sell shit. The only thing I haven't done is I haven't bought another place yet. I enjoyed it, but this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back where I went, what the fuck am I doing with my time? There's all these things I need to actually do in real life. There's cleaning I need to do in real life. There's stuff I need to sort in real life. And I'm sitting here painting someone's fucking virtual wall.
I know.
What?
I do like
So-
that as you paint, you can like upgrade your painting ability. So you're like, I'm going to paint 2 parts of the wall rather than one at once,
But you were happy to play
2. I could do 4.
Power Wash though.
Well, no, it's the same. It's the same principle. No. It's just because I think I'm at that point where I'm like, dude, come on, like, you're clearly procrastinating and avoiding doing other things in life if this is what you keep playing. Because I also played, and you can keep the B-roll rolling. I also played, but not enough to really, put a full talk about it. But I played the cooking simulator as well. And by the way, the cooking simulator is not bad. It's actually better than I thought it would be.
Fuck that game, man.
No,
That
don't like it.
man, the physics
was-
in it. The physics
Dude,
are really, it's really good.
I loaded the game up, Cooking Simulator. It's on Game Pass. So
Yeah.
I load the game up. I go tutorial.
Yeah.
Doesn't load. Okay, I go back out to the menu. I click tutorial again. Doesn't load. I back out, and then I can't move in the menu anymore. It's like
Okay.
it locks the game up, and then I reset the game. So I can soft lock the game just by the menu. I go load the game up in it's like not tutorial, but then it's like a cooking school if you go to the single player, and it's got like code that's like show this sprite here or something in the friggin' text. This game, whatever they've done to port it to Xbox, is a buggy fucking mess, man. Like
It's pretty
it
bad.
is absolutely bad.
That screen that you showed, it was like literally like the game crashed and just showed you just debug text.
I'll let you keep talking about it, but like at that point, I'm like, nah, this game is just not.
Damn.
This
I thought,
game is unfinished as this.
I
port,
got a little
at least.
further than you, obviously, because mine on PC didn't have an issue. But I did have a problem, and I sent you the screenshot as well. In one of the first tutorials, and by the way, the dude who does the tutorials clearly looks like that Gordon Ramsay chef that always gets angry at you, and he goes, "Okay, get 2 potatoes and put them on the chopping board. I want 2 potatoes on the chopping board." So you're like, okay, so I go and I grab a potato, put it on the chopping board. I grab a second potato, put it on the chopping board, and he's like, "I need 2 potatoes on the chopping board. How many more times do I need to tell you 2 potatoes?" So I go grab another potato, and I got 4 fucking potatoes, 5 potatoes, 6 potatoes. Like, what the fuck? This guy, like, it's not triggering. So I chuck some potatoes off the board. I'm left with 2 potatoes, and he's still telling me I need 2 potatoes on the board. You had to actually get the board to the potatoes and then put 2 potatoes on the board directly.
this
You
game.
can't just
This
take 2
game
bloody
sucks.
potatoes and put them on the board. But I have to admit, the physics, something about the physics, like the way you chop shit and the way you do some of that stuff, it's got me intrigued. And I've seen videos of it and stuff, and the physics behind it is kind of cool. Like, you can take a blowtorch, light a box on fire in the middle of the room, put your pot on top, and actually cook shit that way as an example. Like, it's got some really cool shit like that I actually
10 out
want
of
to try
10,
out.
Mike.
10 out of 10
Big Wiki
just
Gaming
because you do dumb
Podcast.
shit. So I'm kind of looking forward to playing a bit more of it, to be honest.
Fuck
Look,
me.
like Kuda Dude said, House Flipper it's really I love those games. I really love those games, but I love them to the extent that I have to really stop myself from playing them. Otherwise, I'd just be flipping houses, mowing lawns, power washing shit virtually non-stop.
How good are the physics when you're demolishing a wall in House Flipper, man? It just feels cool.
It feels really cool, yeah. They're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not super great physics.
No,
if
but
you know what I mean. But they're
physics
cool.
in the sense
yeah.
you're having to actually hit certain sections
Yeah.
of the wall. It's not just I'm going to hit anywhere on the wall and demolish. It's like it
Yeah,
feels
that part's
really
really
neat.
cool. It is
Like
really
way
neat.
more detailed than you'd expect from the fact that when you go clean an area, you just press one button. Like the
Oh yeah,
demolish-
it's way better than that.
Is the
And
game Poggers, Mike?
Poggers? What Poggers? What?
That's going to be a good clip.
What?
If you ever need, Mike, you just reaffirmed the fact that you don't watch anybody
Plus,
stream.
you're so
or
fucking
anything like
old.
that.
You're so old, Mike.
No, that's not a bad thing for you, Mike. The fact that you responded like that is a good thing. It's in character. It's
I want
keeping
to know what the
character.
hell Poggers is.
You're so old.
Whatever.
We're all so
And so that was
not old.
just speaking of the wall demolishing, because it was kind of funny. The first time I had to go and demolish walls and I got the hammer, I just started smashing random walls for the
What are
hell
we
of
talking
it.
about? Are we talking about House Flipper again? Or
We're still talking about House Flipper, yeah. I started smashing random walls, and then I realized I should have to go repair the whole wall after that.
Return of the B-roll.
Return of the
B-roll, yeah.
B-roll.
And I don't know about you,
Return
but
of
every
the
time I
B-roll.
play, the guy's like,
Return
"Oh,
of
I need you to
the
remodel my
B-roll.
daughter's room or
B-roll.
something, and I need you to buy the following pieces of furniture." Do you actually sit there and carefully place them? Because I'm just like, fuck this.
Like
I just put
unpacking?
like 5 pieces of furniture somewhere in the room,
Man,
and I close
you're
the door and leave.
I would paint like the little rims of the walls that you don't even need to do around
Oh yeah,
like
I do
the
that
window
too.
edges.
I do that too. And
So-
the bottom. Do you do the bottom? Because you don't have to do the bottom. It doesn't count.
Yep. Anyway,
Oh,
I
you
think
don't
we've
make
talked
sense.
enough about
Decided,
House
right?
Flipper.
Anyway, enough of that. Look, it's a fun game. Anyway,
What did you give it out of 10?
So, in terms, I'm gonna be a little critical because I feel like there's a whole bunch of shit they could be adding to
Why
it.
you
But I'll
extend it
probably
into
give it
that?
a good 8, a solid 8,
A high 8?
just because it's fun.
a low 8? A solid
Probably
8?
just a normal 8. I would give it a
Straight
normal.
down
8.
the
An
middle.
a normal 8.
Yeah.
You're becoming like Anthony Fantano.
It just needs a few more elements in it. Anyway, enough about this game. This isn't the House Flipper Flop podcast. So the other two games that I'll quickly talk
Yeah, how many
about.
Amiibo out of 10? That's right.
Still 8 Amiibos. The
If
other
it
two
was
games that I quickly
Amiibo,
talk
what
about.
would it be?
is the Forgotten City, which we've spoken about in the show before. So that was again an Aussie dude that started it as a Skyrim mod, made the full game now. So I've been playing that. Really intriguing, really cool so far. It still feels like a bit of an indie game, obviously, but it's great. I love it. So I'm super keen to keep playing it, figure out the mystery. I know nothing about it, so it's really cool. I got some guesses and stuff, just purely based on whatever the hell I know about Roman history and mythology and whatnot, but not enough to kind of know what's happening in the story. And there is another game that I forgot to add, which I didn't forget to add it. It's just that I will talk about it in detail in a second.
Oh, okay.
See what I did there? That was pretty
totally,
shit. Anyway,
that was smooth.
welcome to Mike's Gamespresso. The Gamespresso is my little segment where I spend the price of a cup of coffee, and the price of a cup of coffee can be anything between $1 for a 7-Eleven coffee, which, by the way, is really good. I argued with people at work saying, 7-Eleven coffee, oh, bro, what the hell? 7-Eleven coffee is disgusting.
And you live in one of the
Dirty
coffee
water.
capitals of the world.
Whatever, it's delicious. I like it. Shut up.
Hey, if you
All the
think
way
of
up to-
7-Eleven coffee as a different thing and you set your expectations, then it's fine, you know?
I just love how aggressively Swinny needed to jump into the
Well, thank you.
defend the cheap coffee.
Like, it's not that bad. It's not that
Think that was
bad.
aggressive?
I actually think, I don't think they're making a loss on it, but it's not that bad. And I know I've spoken about this before, and I'm not a coffee snob. I could probably literally, you could get a cup of muddy water, put it in front of me, add a dash of milk, and I'd be like, "Ooh, this is really good coffee."
So probably not like a good judge of it then.
I'm a very
given
bad
what you said.
judge.
Yeah.
But it also makes it easy because I can get cheap shit coffee and it doesn't bother me. 'cause
When are
I'm
we
not a
getting
snob
our
about it.
sponsorship from 7-Eleven?
Yeah, we should. I do have a good relationship with the local 7-Eleven owner, the franchise owner. Very good, yeah. We'll just,
I don't think marketing
the
deals work that
Gamespresso.
way. I know the local dude at 7-Eleven.
No, but he he might be able to hook us up. He always tells me, he's like, petrol prices are going to go up next week because school holidays is stopping and blah blah blah. It's like, you want to lock it in now.
So
make
there's
sure you
collusion
stay up,
happening here.
etc.
Price
Oh,
matching
Jesus
price, you know?
Christ.
You've just uncovered a criminal
Oh,
underworld ring.
What the hell's going on? I'm just trying to do this like
Okay,
little coffee.
We don't have this kind of coffee. Is it 7-Eleven in the US or something?
Is
We don't get
Oh
that.
shit, you're right.
Whatever, who cares? It's still 7-Eleven, I suppose. It's the same shit everywhere. Now, okay, so anywhere between $1, back to my original point, and coffee nowadays, you can easily pay $5-6 for a coffee. It's insane. I've seen people pay like $6 in Yarraville for a freaking coffee in a really tiny cup because they've reduced the cups as well, in case you guys haven't noticed. Ridiculous.
We're definitely not
Anyway.
clipping this, Swinny, by the way.
So I went to I
Done the
went
thumbnail, man.
to the Nintendo eShop.
Wait,
and
let's
I
start the
grabbed
segment again because you're like...
Oh God!
All right, go.
No.
Go. Intro, go.
Okay, I'm not redoing the whole intro. Okay, let
You
me
can't
just
have
talk
this as
about
a
the
YouTube
game for a
thing.
second.
Yeah, just go. Okay.
Now
Start
that
it again.
everyone knows my life
Start it
history
again.
and all this useless bullshit about
I'll count you
7-Eleven
in. I'm the
coffee.
EP. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so I spent $1.80. It was about $1.20 with discounts on the Nintendo eShop, and I grabbed myself a copy of The Adventure Pals. And it's a game I knew absolutely nothing about. Didn't know of its existence. Didn't know what the gameplay was like. The previews look cool. Now, part of my Gamespresso, I don't necessarily have it as part of what I have to do, but I tend to do it, is I don't want to know anything about these games. It's a cheap game. I'm willing to pay the money. Kind of like if I went out somewhere and got a cheap coffee, and I don't give a shit if it's from a good store or whatnot. Surprise me. And for $1.20, well, was it really worth the caffeine trade-off? I reckon it was. It's actually a really fun game. Like, really, really fun. As in, I recommend people download it right now. It's got some flaws, but for the price, it plays really, really well. It's got some really cool, funny humor, very tight controls, like really, really nicely tight controls. Love the characters in it. They kind of remind me a little bit of Adventure Time, and I'm sure maybe the title has something to do with that too. Where you play as a boy and you got this giraffe that sort of has extra abilities that he can use, and a little pet rock. They're kind of like your main characters that you play around with. And the pet rock is useful in battle as well. It kind of randomly goes and hits enemies, and every time you level up, you get a choice of 3 cards that you can effectively apply. They're just, permanent power-ups to your character. So you can kind of slightly adjust how you play the game. But in the end, it's basically the same thing. You go across an overworld, much the same way you do in Mario or a bunch of these kind of games. And then you go from place to place. It's not sequential, so you might have to go to a particular place to get something, and then you go somewhere else to get something else. And so far, out of probably 20 plus levels that I played, they all play out in the same way, which is it's split into 5 sections, and you go through each of the sections, as you can see in the B-roll. And it progressively sort of gets harder with slightly harder enemies. They introduce them at a really good pace. So you kind of don't really feel like from the start it's too difficult. Maybe it's a little too easy at the start, dare I say. But it's now at that stage where it just feels just right in terms of how difficult the game is. So I played it on Nintendo Switch, but I think it's available on basically most of the platforms, including PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. It's developed by Massive Monster, published by Armor Game Studios, and it's been around since 2018. So it's been around for a little while, hence why I guess you can get it for $1.80.
So, question, Mike. Did you just happen to you said you just randomly saw this game?
Yeah, just randomly was on the eShop.
But the fact that we're all talking about like Cult of the Lamb, did that not? That's the same developer as this game.
I had no idea.
That's what I'm like. Is that like a topical thing? Because you're talking. You mentioned earlier.
Probably
in the week,
should be topical, but I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Massive Monster made Cult of the Lamb.
Cool.
And
Okay, well there you go. That's probably why they discounted this at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm like, Mike's like,
That is so cool.
Are you guys grabbing Cult of the Lamb? I'm like,
Oh my god, did I buy another Australian developed game for $1? Oh god, what
I don't
have
know
I
if
done?
this is.
No, they're Australian and UK.
Well, Hooded Dude said that they're Australian.
They're Australian UK. It's like mixed across those two
okay.
jurisdictions.
So they can get away with it, but if you're a New Zealander, nah, you can't say you're Australian now, can you?
No, they're both.
So yeah, look, highly recommend it. These segments are super short. I'm not going to go into too much detail. They're really, to be honest, there isn't a huge amount to the game, if that makes sense. Maybe the lack of some variation lets it down a little bit, but they're still sufficient to keep drawing you to keep playing. And the humor is really fun. I just love it. I love the silly slapstick humor in it. It's just right. It's not overly done. There's some funny references in it. There's some really stupid dad jokes. Because effectively what happens is your dad gets turned into a hot dog at the start of the game, and you have to go rescue him.
I hate when that happens.
Horrible when that happens. So yeah, pick it up. You will not be disappointed, especially for this price.
I think you need a gimmick for this segment, Mike, where you have at the end, we show like a graphic of the coffee and the game, and we do a drum roll and you have to pick one.
That's a good idea.
So I think in this situation, you choose the game.
100% I choose the game. Yep.
Maybe I can help you set up the same setup that I've got, and I can turn you into a coffee, a 7-Eleven coffee.
While I do the segment.
I can 3D model it.
Perfect. I would
This is
love
a
that.
good use
Even if
of
it's
my
just
holiday.
the head. Hey man, maybe that's what you do to relax. Why not?
It is what I do to relax.
All right. Well, let's move on to the news. So coming up, and I guess who gets to do most of the talking? Not me, because I know nothing about this stuff. Evo 2022 news roundup. We've got Tekken 8, we've got Fatal Fury, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and a hell of a lot more. Which one of you boys wants to take over?
Well, considering Intergot's probably going to be talking most of the rest of the show, I'll talk about some of this then. So, first of all, a new Tekken game was teased. Woohoo!
Or was it,
Wow, this
Swinny?
looks-
Or was it?
This
No,
looks
it
mint.
was. It was.
I know,
Damn.
I'm stuttering. Jeez, calm
So
down.
that's
Play
it.
along with a bit, Swinny. Play along with a bit.
So I love the fact that, they teased it with the, Kazuya's Tekken 1 ending straight into the classic smirk transition. I love it. And it's crazy to me. Like, I keep forgetting how long ago Tekken 7 actually came out in arcades, and then it came out. So it came out in 2015 in arcades, and then 2 years later for consoles. But it was a lot more upgraded than they upgraded the arcade version as well. But even 2017, that's 5 years, I weirdly still think of Tekken 7 as a relatively new game, but it's not. And the last major update was last March, so we're due for that, So it's awesome that they teased it. Tekken's my favorite video fighting game series.
Is it?
I love
He
remember
nearly
that.
said my favorite video game. Wow.
Easily my favorite fighting game series. Tekken 3, Tekken 5, Tekken 6, they're all games I played to death, and
Is that
the
'cause you
original
like
Tekken as well.
muscular dudes with the shirts off?
Well, that's all for every fighting game.
That's like
Mike,
wrestling.
So I
No,
don't know
not
why
really.
I would.
Not
I
really.
don't know. I don't know why
No,
I
not
would
really.
specialize in Tekken
It's not,
for my
but it's not.
my hairy, bulky fighting game dudes. Although I
Well-
do like to play as Marduk, who does fit that description. So
Exactly. See what I mean? And think
Yeah.
about Street Fighter. How many characters in Street Fighter don't have shirts on? Like Zangief? Who else?
a lot of Tekken characters have clothes on. Though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I know, but a
And
lot
they're
do
animals.
not.
And they're animals,
So,
some of them.
and you're into you got some bizarre
Anyway,
furry fetish.
Tekken. All right.
I just wanted to
Tekken
say
8
it was a shame for the B-roll that we couldn't get the version where it had Harada.
yeah.
Where his reaction. So the game's director was actually at Evo, and he starts just like bear hugging some of the Tekken main commentators, and they're all like,
Yeah.
"What? Is this a new Tekken game?" And he's just not saying anything. He's just like hugging them and stuff, and then he
Yeah.
just ran away. It's
And he just
freaking
goes.
awesome, man.
Love it.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's cool. We also had the announcement, and this is a real surprise. SNK announced the first new Fatal Fury game in around 22 years. How crazy is that?
Damn.
So they say specifically that they had artwork of Rock Howard, the main character in Garou Mark of the Wolves, which was the last Fatal Fury game that came out. So they say a new Fatal Fury / Garou is greenlit. And so for anyone who doesn't know, the series in Japan is actually known as Garou Densetsu. So,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
I've
I played
never,
Fatal Fury, but-
I've always been like, oh, how do you pronounce Garou and everything like that? And I actually didn't realize it's actually a French word. For some reason, I always thought it was a Japanese
yeah,
word.
What does
Same,
it
yeah.
stand for?
It's
What's
like
Garou?
lone wolf or something like that. So, but yeah, so that's crazy. The new Fatal Fury. Obviously, they didn't show anything, but the fact that that was
22 years.
people went apeshit over that because it's been so long. And we've had the King of Fighters games, of course. It's had Fatal Fury characters in them, but not an actual Fatal Fury. So
This is a bit of a hype for our later segment around Analogue Pocket, as people can see in the up next. There are some updates, including Neo Geo. I always get lost in all the SNK fighting games, like Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, just like
It's the
some of the
Samurai
characters like appearing in
Showdown.
other
Well-
games, and just I get completely lost with it. But this is really cool news.
we also had 2 more characters revealed for Street Fighter 6. So we had Kimberly, a brand new character. She looks
looks
pretty
awesome.
cool. Yeah, it looks cool. Really, this character more than any other in the game so far plays into the whole graffiti aesthetic that they're going for, because she actually uses graffiti cans in, at least in one of the supers that they show, or the ending finishes. And we also had Juri. So Juri's a massive fan favorite from Street Fighter 4, and came back in Street Fighter 5. A character I always liked playing around in Street Fighter 4, but yeah, it was really, really cool to get some new announcements. We talked about this a little while back. It is a shame that obviously a lot of the roster did get leaked, but it's
I still
still
don't know.
awesome to actually see them in action and what their 3D models look like. So.
Yes, Intergot is a fan of Kimberly. I should be playing. Well, I'll be definitely playing as her. Are you thinking of getting in on Street Fighter 6, Winnie?
I'd love to. Yeah, I love Street Fighter 4 and
Yeah.
Street Fighter 5. Like, I didn't have PS5, and I wouldn't really probably play it. I'm not into PC gaming to the level where I'd play something like Street Fighter on it. But yeah.
Yeah,
very
because I'm
pumped
like,
for this
it's the
game.
same as Tekken. Like, I felt like Tekken 7 was like, I don't know. There's something about a new game coming out that it's almost like an opportunity to go, all right, just jump into this. You know what I mean? And ride that wave. So I'm thinking about literally both Tekken and Street Fighter 6. I'm like, I might actually jump on both of them when they come out, actually.
And so the next bit of hype news was Arcade 1-Up actually showing off a new Marvel vs. Capcom 2 cabinet. So we talked about Arcade 1-Up before on the show quite a while back.
Mike's a big fan.
I loved it. Huge fan.
But this is cool. So it actually
is
comes
awesome.
with 8 games. So the 8 games are Marvel vs. Capcom 2, of course, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men Children of the Atom, and 2 games that I wasn't familiar with that aren't really fighting games, which is X-Men Mutant Apocalypse and Marvel Superheroes War of the Gems. They're more like arcade, kind of just like,
Beat 'em ups,
I
right?
don't know, beat 'em. Yeah, they're beat 'em ups, but it's almost like a platformer style, if that makes sense. Not like a Final Fight style. and those games actually came out on the Super Nintendo, but they're very different than
Wow.
the arcade versions. So
Can you mod this thing to put other fighting games on it?
It's
What's
you
the
can you
limitation?
have been able to do that. It's a bit tricky though in some cases.
Okay.
It's almost like
So-
a case by case kind of thing.
but and it might only be initially, but when I went to look at details, it said that they're only shipping these to USA and Canada at the moment.
Yeah.
So just be clear about that.
And they
It's
might not
for
ship it
us.
anywhere else because I think the license for these are really crazy. Like
And
effective.
unfortunately,
Forget importing one of these then. It's so costly.
Well, I think.
unfortunately, I couldn't see a price either for yet. So I think it's like they haven't announced the price.
Oh really?
maybe,
I thought
so-
they. I thought they did say a price for it. That's
Maybe
interesting.
they did. Like I just didn't want to. Like when I was on their page, I couldn't see the price. So.
It's pretty interesting, but the guy that basically put Marvel versus Capcom together, when he was at, like, where was it? Like, effectively Disney, I guess, but like Marvel, he then left, and he's the guy who's actually at Arcade 1-Up. It's like such a weird, like, circumstance because, like, I think we've mentioned it in the show before, but Marvel versus Capcom 2 is like regarded by most people in that scene as the best versus game, and it's not available anywhere. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. There's no way to get it. So this is like literally the only way you can currently
Time
get
zone?
access to this game, and it's been like that for a long time. Swinny. It's kind of
Mike,
crazy.
I don't know if you've been to Time Zone, which
No, I
is an
haven't.
arcade, in
For
a long time. they don't really have games like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 there these days. So.
No, they like, dude. Like, I'm shocked. I've said it on the show, but I've been to so many arcades recently where they've got zero arcade games, as far as I would call them.
So what?
It's
Just
like-
pachinko machines?
Yeah,
and
pretty
stuff?
much, and just like big versions of Flappy Bird. Like,
Wow.
like that kind of shit. It's so crazy. It's quite sad for me.
And the last bit of news, just want to call out, there's a lot of news that we're not mentioning because, for instance, like there's people hyped about Bridget being announced for Guilty Gear Strive and stuff, but we're not into those games, so I didn't pick those as kind of like headliners for us.
Yeah.
They're awesome for everyone else. But the two I did want to call out, so two popular games are getting rollback netcode updates. So the first is Dragonball FighterZ. So that's getting a rollback alongside the new next-gen versions or PS5, Xbox Series X versions. And I don't think they dated that yet, but that's getting rollback, which is something that the community obviously was really, really not expecting, but hyped for when they announced it. And unexpectedly, Samurai Showdown. So, Mike, you were talking about that before, but
Well, thanks.
the version that they, the new version they put out, is also getting rollback, and that's getting rollback in Q2 next year. So.
Neat.
That's
I did enjoy
it's
those.
great that these games that have been out for a long time, like the pressure from the communities, keeping the game alive online has led to this, and I think it's really, really good for the future of these new games getting announced that this stuff is probably going to be standard going, not going forward, but hopefully going forward.
Did you want to
Swinny,
explain what rollback netcode is?
I mean, I'm not a good person to talk about it technically, but basically it gives you a much more polished experience online using basically frames of rollback to basically then determine, okay, who actually hit who, as opposed to, was it delay-based netcode, I think is what was the standard before that, so.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah, and it uses really simple predictions to create a smooth experience on your end as well, but where it then discovers, oh no, that input was incorrect, it actually rolls it back. So you see a jolt in the screen. But most of the time when you're playing rollback games, you don't even notice anything like that because the delays aren't too bad because you're not putting in, 1/60th of a second inputs in most of these games, like as an average punter. So, you know what, like, sweetie, on the rollback thing, when the next Smash is announced in 4 years, what do you reckon the chances are that Nintendo does not have rollback? Because rollback is now in the fighting community, Mike, is like every game has to have rollback netcode. Like, it's now becoming unacceptable. Like, people will go crazy if a new game does not have rollback netcode.
I think if the next Smash game is in, let's say, 8 years, I'm
years?
just throwing out, let's say it was in 8 years, then there's a chance it could have it. If it was in like 4 years, I think it's a good chance it probably wouldn't have it because Nintendo,
I know. It won't be 8 years because it would only be 8 years if the next console is in 8 years.
I know. I'm
can't
just
say
saying,
that.
like, I think if the next one was further
but I
along,
don't think it will
then,
be.
yeah.
So but that's why I asked the question, because I realistically think 4 years is like pretty much as long as it will go. And it just feels to me like they won't have it, which would be just like disgusting. But yeah, like I only mentioned Smash because Evo, I really love Evo, but man, not having Smash there at all really did change it for me a bit. I don't know if you felt like that, Swinny.
Oh, it did. I did actually really enjoy watching the Tekken 7 finals, the top 8 this year. Like, I'm actually gone back and watched a bunch of like older, I guess,
VODs.
tournaments and top 8s and finals and stuff. Man, Tekken 7 is such a fun spectator game to watch in a tournament. So I really recommend the top 8 from Evo this year. So
There's something about fighting games and the community where it's like, it is the purest form of competition as far as video games are concerned, in my opinion. Because it's just one person versus another person. You can pick the same characters if you want. And it's more just head games at that point, and stress levels and people getting hyped around you and everything. Like, there's something that's like so pure about it that I love.
And
with
I don't-
passion.
I don't want to disparage the people that love this stuff, but I think it's so much more spectator friendly, even if you're not into the games, than something like watching League of Legends.
Oh, 1000%.
You know, in a tournament setting. Again, like, I know people love that stuff in their huge tournaments, but fighting games that anybody can sit down and watch something, a fighting game tournament, and have fun, or at least watching it. You know, even more so than, honestly, Smash Brothers, for people that aren't in Smash Brothers, is hard to follow at times. Whereas something like Street Fighter and Tekken, I think, are much easier to just watch and say, okay, that guy hit that guy, you know, like the parries and things like that.
No,
So-
I agree. Yeah, and I think the fact that you've got a meter that shrinks, like whereas Smash, it's a percentage, and you don't even really know why they're flying off the screen when other people aren't, you know, that kind of stuff. So cool.
Right, well, let's roll forward then into our next segment. So, next piece of news, we took a look, well, we, as in these two guys, because I wasn't there for that particular thing, at the Nintendo Direct that was held this week. It was a very cool event. You can check out the actual live reaction that the guys did down below in the description. And I reckon I'm going to go over to you and to God on this one, because you are the biggest Splatoon fan.
Yes,
I
I'm
know.
repping the brand. I've got like the t-shirt
Absolutely.
on today. Yeah, so like overall, massive direct, lots of surprises, and so many quality of life features, including some that were more clarified after the direct, but even better, like made it a pure 10 out of 10. So I'll fly through some of the updates, and this is just the Cliff Notes version of it. So new weapons like the Tri-Stinger bow and Splatana sword. So that's if you want to get into Splatoon, Mike, it's a katana in Splatoon world. That's just a no-brainer for you. All weapon types from the previous game are going to be available at launch. That's awesome. New movement abilities like Squid Surge, which allows you to climb up a wall in a single burst, and Squid Roll to jump out of the ink while you're turning. New special weapons like Tacticooler and Wave Breaker, plus returning special weapons. 12 stages at launch, which are a mix of new and returning ones. And some of the really cool announcements for me, especially, there's an improved lobby system. It's amazing. Nintendo has done something that's not Nintendo-like. You're actually able to like party up with friends and join them mid-match. Now, just to be clear, Mike, you couldn't even join in a public lobby your friend in their team. It sort of was like you could be in their team, or in the next battle, you could be on the opposite team. Like, there was no way to just go, I want to be on the same team
Was that
as my friend.
intentional, or was that just an oversight?
Like, some of the context there is most of the head honchos at Nintendo don't play any other consoles, or don't have any experience about what anyone else does. Like, by the way, what Halo 2 and 3 had done like 10 years before. So the other one is, and I cannot understate this, but as someone who's played a lot of Splatoon 2, the ability to skip the opening intro from the hosts. That is so massive. It sounds like it's nothing, but if you play Splatoon 2, Mike, every single time you go into it, you get the hosts and they explain what maps are up, what's happening. You know, this map's available right now. Oh, if you want to play this game mode, this map, and it's like a minute or a minute and a half or 2 minutes that you can't skip or do anything with. It's just you have to sit there and watch
How
it.
did they never add that ability?
They never
before?
allowed you to skip
Wow.
it. People were going nuts about it, right? And it was so annoying that I seriously, like, sometimes I looked at it, I'm like, I'm not going to play Splatoon because I couldn't be bothered watching that fucking opening cutscene bullshit. Or I'd
Does
like
the
turn
tech-
it on and then walk out the room and come back. But you have to press the button.
That's what I was about to say.
advance
Do
it.
you have to press the
Yeah.
button to actually wow?
Yeah, it's so annoying. So live in the reaction, you can see the bit where I actually said, "Can you skip it? Can you skip the intro?" Because it sort of had like a little button, and then after the direct, it was confirmed that you can skip the intro. They will still play the intro, but you can move in the world, and it's like in the top left corner. And I'm like, oh, thank God, that's a massive improvement. So there's a new game mode, Table Turf, which is a card game, Mike. A new one-on-one card game within Splatoon.
It looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it looks so cool. The Splatfest. Now, this is where it was like really cool surprise. So Splatfest, Mike's, in the past two games, basically it's a global event. You can join in Splatoon 1 and 2. It was like two teams, right? So are you on team mayo or are you team tomato sauce or ketchup, right? Now, what they've done in this is they've actually got three teams now. So you play off. It's really cool, the structure. So it's just a weekend. The way it works is you have a Splatfest. It's, once a month or every other month or whatever. It's just a weekend that you can play it. And the way they're doing it this time is the first phase, the three teams, they all fight each other into like one-on-one. So like all the different selections, all the combinations there. And then whatever team is leading in the second phase, they put them in the middle of the map, and it's actually a one-on-one. So there's actually three teams competing against each other in the second phase, which is super, like, first time in Splatoon. It's really, really cool. The Salmon Run is returning, and the change there is in Splatoon 2, you can only play it in certain times. Now you can play it all the time, which I know, like, I didn't mind that it was only certain times, but I think everyone is quite happy that it's available at all times, which is a really cool mode. It's like a PvE type mode, Mike. And finally, we're introduced to the three new hosts, and they have finally added a man. It's only ever been women. They finally added a man. So the three are Shiva, Fry, and Big Man. Which I feel like they might be trolling people, the fact that they've done this, because people were always really annoyed. I'll see if I can bring them up on screen, because I don't think it's going to come up as we're showing it now. But yeah, like I'm not sure if this is exactly what people wanted in terms of the hosts. Like, they look like the hosts of the first two games are just incredible. Like, they're really cool, but these are different, Swinny. These are really different.
Yeah, it's
Big forehead ladies, interesting.
very interesting. I think Intergot, you're going to enjoy seeing that forehead a lot during playing Splatoon 3.
He's going to enjoy seeing himself in that forehead a lot.
No, you try. I don't know if you're trying to find the clip.
Yeah,
but
I'm
Big
trying to
Man-
find a good picture.
Big Man is he's a stingray. He's not an actual man, but he's called Big Man, so that's
a man,
close enough. That's close
so-
enough. I'm sure. I don't know how
identify as
stingray gender identities work. But I'm sure there's male stingrays. Just put it out there.
You're running into dangerous territory, Swinny.
Oh, I'm all right.
So does this come up? Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, this is not the best
I was
image.
trying to kill
It's
time
actually
for you.
really hard to find a good image of them, because I don't want to show the whole video again. But yeah, the hosts, look, it's just probably the one part that I'm a bit like
I'm sure you'll warm up.
mixed on. Yeah, maybe.
I'm sure you'll warm up.
We'll see. But no, like, super pumped about the announcements. Absolutely awesome. I'm definitely.
I love that
definitely getting
Spatana,
this.
man. That is such a cool,
It's a cool name too.
idea of taking like a car wiper and turning it into like a katana. That's so cool.
And the question that I have is, because they're going to have a world premiere like they did last time, which is like for free before. I mean, like, this is how they did it last time. I didn't check this, but I'm quite confident I'm right about this. I'll just make proclamations. So it's in a week. I think it's like literally like Saturday week, I think, from memory, Swinny. That they'll have the world. Well, maybe I'll just double check this while we're talking. They're gonna have the world premiere and actually allow you to play online. It's a bit of a network test as well. And I'm wondering, are you guys gonna jump in? I mean, it's free.
I reckon I will. Yeah, it's free.
Yep.
I could give it a proper shot.
It's 28th of August.
Yeah, so
10
Sunday.
10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So there's 12-hour blocks.
So this Sunday, okay.
So let's skip the show. Like, not this Sunday, it's next Sunday. Let's skip the show, play Splatoon,
Sure.
record the next day, talk about our experience. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I'm really keen to I'm taking the day off work to play this game so I can just walk around and enjoy it. But no, very, very happy with all the announcements and very un-Nintendo like some of the things that they've done, which is really, really cool.
Very cool. All right, moving on. So, hot on the heels of Analogue's recent Open FPGA update, it's been another busy week for the Analogue Pocket, with the mysterious spiritualized 1997 releasing more cores, major updates to the Neo Geo core, and some interesting developments in the Myster community. Cue the Intergot details.
Should have said cue the Intergot.
Cue the
But
Intergot.
I respect you for reading my my notes that were meant to more be like, show. What is
Yeah,
it?
I
Show
put-
directions or whatever?
Yeah, no, probably should put like
I was
square
told
brackets
off at
around
the
it.
start of the show for not following directions, and I'm trying to follow directions.
It's all right because I'd colored them something different, but there's no colors at the moment, so it's like
Yeah, no, the colours got balked.
anyway. That's
Anyway.
behind the scenes.
Okay,
So-
tell us about it.
Yeah, there's some and Mike, you gotta get this little baby back, the Analog Pocket.
Give me a moment, I will go grab it.
It is awesome.
To
No,
touch
wait,
it while you
listen
talk
to
about
my
it.
No,
update.
he's using that
Listen to my update.
as an excuse
So I
to
have to
go
listen to talk about
take
it.
a piss.
So what happened this week? So there were some major announcements. So the mysterious spiritualized 1997. Who knows who this person is? It released 3 new cores covering SEGA Game Gear, Master System, and the SG-1000. So that does join his previous 2 cores, which were the Game Boy Color, which also works for Game Boy, and Game Boy Advance. They have full compatibility with all their game libraries and all of the analog features, so memories, save states, all that kind of stuff. The things that are missing at this stage are the special display modes. I think you guys remember that you can make it look like an old school Game Boy for Game Boy, and then you can make it look like how the Game Gear looked back in the day. You can't currently do that on these cores, but it will come in the future. Nice. So I played the hell out of this week. I didn't mention it up front, but I knew we were going to get it to it here. I have a funny history with the Game Gear in particular. I've said about it on the show before. As a kid, all I ever wanted was a Super Nintendo. It's quite sad, Mike. I made a Super Nintendo out of cardboard. It was we'd sit in front of it and just imagine playing Super
Mommy.
Mario World and stuff like that.
Well, that's why your
right?
mom probably never bought it. She's like, where am I going to buy one if you have one right there?
No, so what happened was...
Wait, we have a Super Nintendo at home.
It was my birthday, and I'd literally been wanting a Super Nintendo for 2-3 years, right?
Wow.
Every year, Christmas, birthday, that's all I wanted, right? And then it came to my birthday. I think this was in grade 6 or 7. I think it was grade 6 from memory. And my mom's like, oh, we got this thing for you. I'm like, it's like a game thing, right? I'm like, whoa, I'm going to get a Super Nintendo. This is
I
cool,
don't
right?
like where this is going.
So I'm like, I get the package when I'm a kid, and I'm an arsehole, right? But anyway, and I see, I'm like, this looks too small. So I open it, and I'm a big Nintendo fan, right? And back in the day, obviously, Sega and Nintendo, you hate each other. And I open it up, and it's a Sega Game Gear, and I was like, oh my God. And then my mom's like, oh, the sales guy said, nah, you wouldn't want a Super Nintendo. This is much better.
So that's harsh. That's harsh.
And I'm like, oh my
That is
God.
harsh. That is how you get mummy issues.
And the Game Gear was a decent system,
It's not bad. The Game Gear is really fascinating in the sense that, the Master System, which is not very popular in America, wasn't really released properly there, but it was released here in Europe and South America.
Popular, yeah.
It was huge, in those countries, in continents and places. But the thing that I think is interesting about the Game Gear is it's effectively a Master System that's portable, right? Which is not like the Game Boy with the NES and you go, oh yeah, they port games. I mean, they literally would take, and this is not too common, but they sometimes took actual Master System games, hardwired some of the pins, right? Shrunk down the IC, and then just put it on the Game Gear. It was it's literally the same ROM, right? The exact same bits, every part of it wasn't even ported. It just made it run in Master System mode on the Game Gear. So it's pretty interesting system in that way. I have nostalgia for some of these games. Like I'm including in the B-roll for Donald Duck, the Lucky Dime Caper. There are like legit, like there are some decent games. And it's kind of funny, like when you now compare it to something like a Game Boy, because it came out around the same time. And the way you can play it on a Pocket, it does like kind of, show its strengths versus what, the Game Boy could do at the time. Because it's not very fair to compare it to the Game Boy Color that came out much later. So
It's also because like the Game Gear, the battery life compared to
was
the Game
horrible.
Boy.
Wasn't it really bad?
It was
Didn't
six
you-
AA
Yeah.
batteries.
6 AA.
And it would burn it out in a few hours, right?
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
expensive back in the day. And you could get
Especially
like,
as a kid, it's not like you got just
Yeah.
go buy more batteries,
no, exactly. And I got the rechargeable ones, but the rechargeable ones back then would
They were not the
last
same as any
like
loops.
way less. They're not like Ozbug and any loops. So like, look, this core's awesome. Huge shout outs to, I was about to say his name, the Specialized 1997 dev. And it's an exciting time for Pocket, but I'll try to get through some of these a little bit quicker because I know I'm banging on about it a bit too much. Oh, you agree, do you, Mike?
No. Just-
So
We're all good. We're all good.
there was a Neo
good.
Geo update
This
as
is actually
well.
really interesting.
So I totally think you should try this out, Mike. So Kiwi dev, Mazamars 312, and then a whole bunch of other people. We'll put it in the show notes. Furteg, Jatago, blah blah blah. They're all sort of developed the cores for Neo Geo on Mister, so the big Mister project, and Mazamars 312 is porting it to the Analogue Pocket. And he just released an update. It's lucky that we did this show today because the release only came out on Monday. And man, it's a huge change from like the first version he released was really like okay, I've got this working, but it was like so tricky to try to do it. You'd have to go in and out of folders and all this crazy shit. Whereas this is working, man. Like most games work on this. Some don't because of, just the size of the ROMs. It's too big for it to load just into the RAM of the Analogue Pocket. So they'll have to do some crazy stuff for that. So massive update. If you've tried out the Neo Geo core before, you should try this out. And things that are coming in the future, and it might not be that long actually, are things like full game compatibility. So that's even like things like Swinny, like SNK versus Capcom. And
Sheesh.
and
That
like
can be nuts.
playing this, like I played like Metal Slug, Wingjammers, all the King of Fighter games that I could, Fatal Fury because of Fatal Fury's announcement, Shock Troopers, Samurai Showdown. It is insane. Like Neo Geo is like a funny system for us in Australia. It never got released here. It's still the most expensive, if you translate it into today's money, still the most expensive console.
It was always these games in Neo Geo. Like whenever I get an American like imported video game magazine like EGM,
Yeah.
and there was a bunch of games even on Super Nintendo that we weren't getting, but I'd look at the Neo Geo games and be like, what the hell?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I'd see the American pricing of them. I'm like, oh my god, these games cost this much? It's insane.
So I did the math. So the Neo Geo, the clever thing about it was more like arcade. That's where it all started, right? And they made it so that you would have, the system and you could actually put like ROMs, like real ROM, physical arcade ROMs, and you could put up to 6 in a machine and it would all run on the same like hardware. So it was a lot cheaper for people to actually have Neo Geo arcade machines in the long run. So that was the kind of like, not the gimmick, but the strategy that SNK did with the Neo Geo. And then they actually in Japan made it like, they were like, oh, we could probably make this into a home version, but it's so expensive. We'll just make it into a rental. And then the demand in Japan was so crazy. It was like, no, we want to buy this. We don't want to just rent it. And they're like, well, okay, we're going to charge you for it. So the US cost, it's still the most it's ever been, was $650. But if you translate it into Australian money and then inflation and stuff like that, it's literally the equivalent if they released it today for $1,680 Australian.
That is a lot for an arcade.
That's what it would have been the launch price. Imagine
I'm
that.
trying to remember what the games were priced at US. It was like,
Oh,
weren't they like 150, 200 or
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah, like
US
100
Yeah.
US dollars minimum.
And
but
that,
more
and
like
that was back in the
150.
90s, you
Yeah.
know.
Whoa.
So your game here would have been like $250.
Yeah.
Like without inflation. It was insane, right? But anyway, like I think you're right, Swinny. There was something always about the Neo Geo to me that was almost like, because growing up in that era with SNES and Genesis, or like Mega Drive for us, it was like a different universe. It was like a parallel universe of like a better 2D system, right? With like better graphics and shit. It's like, whoa. But yeah, just going back to this like core, it's awesome. It's super exciting news. And I think it also just shows that, man, if you get the Neo Geo to work on the Analogue Pocket, and it's so freaking crazy to be holding like a portable, cycle accurate Neo Geo in your hand effectively. You know, there's just so much cool shit that's coming up with the Pocket. Speaking of which, so one of the most famous core developers, so he's Mr. Core Developer Jatago, who is most famous for his CPS2 core. So that's like Marvel vs. Capcom, the Alpha series, everything like that. Seems to be in the process of porting his cores to the Analogue Pocket. Now, I just say that because he's the one who put up a poll on his Patreon. He said, should I port my cores to Analogue Pocket? So he just asked his Patreon. He's got a huge Patreon, like 3,000 patrons. And it was literally 50-50 with just a little bit more people voting no, do not port the cores. Now, this is like, I don't really want to get involved in this war that's happening at the moment. Like, there's this fucking like bullshit, like crap war that's happening between like Mr. people and everyone else, or Analogue Pocket people. It's so dumb. It feels like you're about to say something, Swinny.
No, I was just trying to imagine playing something like Marvel vs. Capcom on the Analogue Pocket's controls and being like, how would that feel?
Yeah, well, but yeah, no, there's like a lot of fighting games on portable handouts, so I don't think they're that bad. Sorry about this. So he did say, like, you know, went to the poll, he lost the poll. And then he just posted the other day, he's like, I think the fact that, like, if I start porting things to the Pocket and, you know, the patron has kind of gone flatline, I might get more patrons if I port the cores, right? So I'm a bit like, why did you put the poll up? I'm not really, you know, it's a bit strange. And it does seem like there's some back and forth with him and Analogue themselves. So one thing about the whole community is like Analogue's very like secretive about most stuff, and they're very controlled from a PR. And, you know, people in the open source community hate that shit with a passion, which I don't mind it, but, you know, I understand why they don't like it. But it does sound like all the cores could potentially be translated, especially like the early ones in the CPS 1 and CPS 1.5, which to me would be friggin' insane, because it's stuff like Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, cycle accurate, and then potentially eventually, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom and things like that, which you've ordered the dock rights, Winnie, for the Analogue Pocket.
You did?
Yeah. You asked me
2 years
Well, I just
ago.
want to confirm, but so
right.
like, you know, you could
Every
plug
show
that
he
in
asks that
and play it, and it's going to be like, it's just to me totally insane, you know, like a portable way to play these games. I don't know, man. It's just, it's super, super cool. Like, I'm super looking forward to it. And then the last one is just a quick one. Josh Bassett is, sorry, I forgot that I changed the way my setup worked. So he's an Aussie, I did check, he's the actual Aussie, FPGA dev.
Real Aussie,
He did the Cave arcade core, so it's like a lot of bullet hell games and things like that.
Yeah, I never desire to play any cave games. They just look like they're not my thing.
Yeah, they're crazy.
But
right?
I know people love them though.
But, you know, dude, and when you see the Pockets, Winnie, the thing that's like, I actually think, you know, playing the Neo Geo games and things like that actually demonstrates something about the Pocket that is quite unique. The screen resolution is just like insane, right? Because it's 1,600 by 1,400 from memory.
That's a lot for their tiny screen.
Yeah. So, but the Neo Geo looks so crisp. It's like, whoa, this is insane. I think these bullet hell games will look really like
They would look sick,
stark.
actually, yeah.
Yeah. So he's already got it. Like, I think the reality is getting it over to the Pocket is pretty simple compared to like building a core from scratch. Like, it's not just a one-click thing, but it seems like, okay, a month's worth of work and you can get the core up on the Pocket. So I don't know, man, like, it's awesome time for the Pocket. You know, hopefully they can spit more of them out and kind of chill everyone out about, you know, Analogue and what they're doing in general. But yeah, like, it's a cool time to have the Pocket, man, and you should get onto it, Mike, because
I'm going to go right now while you
should
talk
update
about...
update your Pocket, and then I have some files I can assist you with if you need that assistance.
Sounds good. I will go and update it while you talk about
Oh, yes.
Our next news segment.
Just wait that whole segment for his chance.
So, not to be outdone by Swinny with his constant barrage of Kemco game updates and reviews. There's really not that many, but okay. Intergod is back with even more Amiibo news, which we just can't get enough of.
I do talk a lot about
Intergod,
Kemco.
tell the rest of the world because I need to go.
Mike, there is no one in the world who talks more about Kemco than Swinny, and he's still not getting review codes, which I'm very disappointed
Yeah,
about.
that is actually quite
We
disappointing.
will throw those review codes in the bin, Kemco, if you ever send them to us. So, in honor of the Amiibo news, I need to be converted to an Amiibo myself.
That's just...
It's
so
cursed.
cursed, man.
It's
It's so
cursed.
cursed. And like, whenever I saw you like cough or something, and you like your face like goes up on a weird angle towards it. Yeah, it's so weird, man.
It's detecting my face and then trying to put it
Oh
straight.
man, it's so weird.
It's not cursed. It's delicious. So
Blessed.
you can check out in the reaction. I think we also clipped it on the channel, but I was very surprised that they announced a new Splatoon 3 amiibo. I thought they would have done this a little bit earlier. I was pumped about
Three
these.
of them.
These look awesome. Like, this looks amazing. I love the way these look. I love the Splatoon amiibo in general. I think they're really well made and high quality. So this was a real big shock for me. They're coming out I think it's like Christmas time, maybe November. So it's weird. They had it in the pipeline, so I'm surprised they didn't announce it earlier, but maybe they just felt they couldn't get it out when the game was coming out. So I do have a question. Do you think I pre-ordered these?
Of course you bloody pre-ordered them.
Duh.
Yes, I did.
Oh.
What a
surprise.
plot twist. Oh
What
my
a
god.
surprise.
M. Night Shyamalan would
you
love the
believe
script
it?
for that.
I don't know if you've seen my amiibo face, Mike.
I have.
Oh, you have.
The
okay.
angle's a bit wrong, but okay.
But it's even
You
more
gotta look
cursed
the
like
other
that. And then the other surprising announcement was that they actually have a restock of the Splatoon 1 and 2 amiibo, which is very cool. Very nice of them. A lot of people get annoyed in the stupid amiibo community because it ruins the value of their amiibo. But
The
I'm like,
stupid
fuck that.
amiibo community. That's who we're making this YouTube clip for, and you just blasting them.
Hey, I got a lot of amiibo. I'm allowed to
Well,
say it.
he's part
It's
of
my
the
community. It's my
so,
community.
Yeah, it's
so
where
he's
it's like
calling
you can
himself
bag your own
stupid, okay.
What a
community out
joyous
there.
day. Yeah, well, you have to say it's stupid. What a joyous day. They've look how many amiibo you can pre-order at the moment. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Wow. That is so cool. I can't believe it.
But especially these amiibo, Callie and Marie and the Off the Hook amiibo, they were very coveted. This one was selling for like $200-$300. So it's awesome that they had a pre-order for it. Unfortunately, I think it's sold out. But if you are in Australia, they might be going to other places like the Gamesman or
eBay.
JB Hi-Fi. So keep your eye out for that as well. And they were the original RRP. So it's not the new inflated adjusted RRP. So the question that I have for you guys is,
No.
did Intergot order these?
Of course he did.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
My
Why would I
card-
order them when I own them all?
I was about to
I have
say,
them
I was
all.
about to have a counter question.
I have every single one of them.
Indigod, I was going to counter your question with, don't you already own them?
Of course I do. They're everywhere.
course
They're
you
open.
do.
I have the alternative color that they didn't restock.
You are
Wow.
a sick man.
Gotta go back to my amiibo,
Almost
man.
as sick as I am right now.
And then I can't believe how much
I'm getting
amiibo
sick just
stuff there
talking
is.
to this guy.
I like, it's amazing. Everyone thought amiibo is gonna die, and it just
there is-
keeps going.
I would love to see, because that snapshot that I have of you, you can actually see a whole bunch of amiibos properly in the background. It's really hard to tell in the video, but
Yeah,
they're
they're
there.
behind.
There's a whole,
Just
there's
see how-
more than those, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I've got way more than
Yeah.
that. Jesus.
No, as in, your collection's way bigger, but I feel like the opened ones, there's more than that.
The weird part is, in my background, I have almost as much amiibo as your current background, but that's all the amiibo I own.
Well,
That's it.
I've got more
What you see
here
up there is all I have.
because the last thing I want to
Hang on a
mention
minute.
is I finally got the new Monster Hunter Sunbreaker.
that is
Crate.
cool. That
Now,
one's
Unboxing
these-
vid. Unboxing vid. Come
Okay, I'll
on.
rip it
Unboxing
open.
vid.
These are like freaking awesome, man. Like they're way more expensive, but they are actually pretty sick. Can't believe I'm showing plastic toys on a stream.
So I have a question.
These are awesome, man.
I have a question about Amiibo production.
Yes, correct.
Not counting the Diablo one, are all Amiibo produced by Nintendo? Every single one of them? Or does Capcom, for produce those ones?
Oh no, these are produced by Nintendo.
So they're produced by Nintendo. Okay,
Yeah.
because I wasn't sure those third-party ones, how they worked, if they were made... all the Smash Brothers line
maybe
one,
not,
I can
actually.
understand.
Maybe not, because I'm looking at the bottom of the box, and it actually says manufacturer Capcom, and it actually has the building in Tokyo.
Yeah, so the Smash
they
Brothers
mustn't
one...
be.
The Smash Brothers ones, like the Minecraft ones, I can see Nintendo doing those because they're like part of the Smash Brothers line. But the Monster Hunter ones, I'm like, is Capcom making them, or at least making the toy part, and Nintendo
so
box them?
So it's a completely separate toy line, technically, just with the chips in it that are the same.
Yeah, that's just
Nintendo may give them the like bases or something if the bases are the same.
because I'm an absolute and utter insane person. Somehow I discovered this site, which actually. Which is the
So what's this?
CPSIA Certificates of Compliance. So I keep an eye on this site every now and then. If you sell a toy like this into America, you need to have like this notice, like it's
Okay.
coming up now, and so I found this site for some reason. I was going to email this person to talk to them about Amiibo. It's actually their email address.
You should try to.
I could
interview
call
them on
them.
the show.
I could call them.
Oh wow, it's got their phone number there. That's pretty bad.
Lucky our channel's
Hey,
way too small.
to be clear,
dox
this is not
anyone
doxing
on.
them. This is all public information.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
and then-
so
but
it's a
you're
lot of
just sharing-
information that's public.
But what I thought I should do is I should call Hong Kong and just pretend I'm Nintendo.
Yes, hello. I am. What's his
I'm
name?
gonna go. Yes, I want to talk about.
Biden Erandu.
I want to talk about the Sora Amiibo production.
Yes.
They'll be
we
like,
need.
Who? What?
Hello.
But
My name
yeah,
is
sorry.
the
My
head
point.
of-
My point was, it's a really good point that you make, Swinny, because this one doesn't have the Monster Hunter ones listed here. So I think you're right. I think these aren't manufactured by Nintendo. Amazingly,
What do you reckon? They just didn't put them up for approval.
they've got a
forgot?
very special base as well. It's like sort of Amiibo-ish, but not.
Yeah,
So
well, obviously
maybe-
they
yeah,
probably
okay.
outsource certain elements, and then they have the free reign
Yeah.
to do whatever they want.
Nice
if
pickup,
only
Swinny,
they
nice
could, they could,
pickup. Very
they
good.
could do Amiibo Hot Wheels. So over here we have a Nissan Z prototype, pretty cool, and we have the Tesla Roadster.
Are they toys to life? Do they have a
Yeah. Cool.
Do they have
RFID chip
NFC
in?
chips? No.
No, but that's
So-
what I mean. They should put them in. I've got the Lamborghini Sian, very
Nice.
cool. Not my favorite color of it, but that's okay.
So yes,
we've got the
Mike,
2017 Ford GT.
very happy with all the new Amiibo, and I'll be getting
Or the e-tron.
some more soon for Smash.
Very good.
There'll be some new ones coming in. I'll be very excited. All right, back to you hosting, Mike.
All right. Awesome. So, lots of Amiibo news. Oh my gosh. Time to wrap up this week's gaming news. Now, I don't remember, boys, exactly how we're going to do this, where we're just going to pick one. We're going to randomly do one line at a time.
Can I have a go?
I'm just
at
going to
both
go
of
straight
you?
into it.
Can I have a go at both of you right now and everyone associated
Sure.
with the show?
Okay.
I think this
that
is-
includes the people listening in.
I think this is an abomination that Swinny relinquished the 1 min for the Swin
Without losing it.
without a ceremony, without something. I believe whatever happens on the show is canonical. I didn't think you passed, and I said that. I don't think you passed, but Mike was the judge. It was always the judge. He said you did pass. So in my world, you now have to read this whole thing in a minute, Swinny. I don't know how many words it is.
Not going to happen.
This is just an excuse for you to quit.
I knew we'd talk about it today, and basically, the unfortunate thing is that Mike and my feed is always going to be slightly delayed, and the unfortunate part is we're talking within 1 second. You know, it was like
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
like I don't know, like within 0.5 of a second that when I looked around and I finished, it looked like I had time. But then when I watched it back on the live stream, it was like clearly I didn't get there just in time.
Yeah.
But no, that's a fair call. But I'm too sick to read this whole thing. So
That's okay. Okay,
unfortunately, I'm not
let's
gonna
just
do
get
that
into
for you.
it. Let's just get into it.
I'd probably normally be like, yeah, whatever.
Can I do the business part, Mike?
You can do the business numbers part. That's okay.
I didn't think we were going to read them all because there's a lot more than
Oh,
normal.
okay.
Let's go through them.
If you want to, but
I just thought, let's not read them all.
Well, we could keep talking about it.
No,
We can go do it.
All right, Mike, I talked about this at the top of the show, but you clearly, as you said, forgot. I said that I just list a whole bunch of stories and we can just choose which ones we want to talk about.
Nice.
And then we can chat about what we want to do for the wrap up in the future. Like, I've got an idea that potentially we could have the topics on display, and if the chat wants us to mention one of them, we could talk
That's
about
not
it.
a bad
You know?
idea.
That's
Ooh.
an idea for the future, you know.
Interactive.
So,
Yeah, I think it would
Interactive
be-
show.
fans now.
maybe. So,
Hey, wait, I don't have any.
But
I
I'm
feel
my mum.
naked. I didn't have a little filter on. Jesus.
Your little glasses on.
Gotta tell me,
Okay,
guys.
so in some gaming news,
Oh, that
let's
is
start
that
with
is
the-
so cursed, dude. Like,
Why?
I don't want to. Jesus.
Oh God. Sorry for people just listening in on the actual podcast. I can't even describe this. It's impossible to describe.
All right. Anything
It just
you
looks
guys want to
cursed.
talk about out of
so
our list? Here?
I do.
Can't
Okay,
open
so
my
let's
mouth
talk
too
about
much.
some of the new game announcements and focus on the topic at hand. Can't believe I'm the one that's actually trying to get people to focus. So THQ Nordic have announced a new Alone in the Dark, which is now going to be a reboot. I love.
Wait,
these
are you reading all
reboots.
of these out? I thought we were going with Swinny's idea.
No, he's
No,
just
but
choosing
this
one.
is one that I actually
okay.
give a shit about. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm happy
Fair
to
enough.
actually read some of the other ones because some of them are quite interesting. And in fact, most of them are actually quite interesting to me. So I was a fan of the very original Alone in the Dark, and I'm talking about the hyper polygonated. It's not a word. You know what I mean? That came, I think, before Resident
poly.
Evil came out. Really low poly. The original Alone in the Dark, and then they had Alone in the Dark on 360, I believe, which I didn't mind. I don't remember if it got the best sort of reception or anything like that, but I like this series. I like Silent Hillish. I like this kind of games. So kind of looking forward to this one coming out for on PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. The other THQ Nordics, staying with them as well, they've announced Recreation for PS4/5, Xbox One, and Series, as well as PC, which is an open world arcade racing game from the Three Fields Entertainment. They did Dangerous Driving and Danger Zone. Again, I love those kind of games. Happy to kind of see how they work out. I have to admit, I wasn't like, I loved Need for Speed Most Wanted in its own way, but then at the same time, there were elements of that open worldliness that I wasn't a huge fan of. So we'll see how this works. But at the same time, you know, some of the Burnout series, when they like Burnout Paradise was an absolutely sick game when they went open world. So I'm a huge fan of that. THQ Nordic once again concluded its showcase on Friday by confirming a new South Park video game. Kind of excited for that. I finished number 1, The Stick of Truth. Never finished the second one. So it's actually, I've got it on the Switch, and I feel like it's the perfect game for the Switch. I keep preserving it for a time when I can focus on it.
Is that
and
on
play
the
it properly.
Switch? Stick of Truth.
Yeah, The Stick of Truth is on
Is
the
it?
Switch. So is the second one. Yeah,
Actually did not know
it's perfect for the system.
the fractured butthole.
The fractured butthole. I don't have the Stick of Truth because I played it on a different system. But
You're talking
I've got-
about Fractured Butthole not being made by
Yeah.
Obsidian?
No, we're talking about whether it's on Switch or not. So I've got them.
Oh,
I've got it
okay.
on Switch.
Yeah, I didn't know they were on the Switch. That's really
Perfect.
cool, actually.
It's a perfect console for that, and they go on special relatively frequently as well. So I do recommend them.
I am actually nervous about this new South Park game. Just because, like, who's developing it? Is Matt Stone and Trey Parker heavily involved again? Because, yeah, I just think it would be not so great if it's not. Do we know anything about it, Swinny, or just the publisher?
No, just the publisher.
I don't know, man. I got
I
a
mean,
bad
we don't
vibe
know.
about
We
it.
don't know anything about it to go either way, you know. So I think it's a fair call to say
Yeah.
if they aren't involved, it's has a chance of not being great. But we literally don't know anything, so
Yeah.
just the one exists, you know.
Also, like, really weird because, like, the recent South Park movie I've not been a fan of. So I just hope it's not like a shift in what they're doing. But anyway.
We'll see. And look, some of the Middle Earth games were actually quite good, and Private Division and Weta Workshop. And I have actually been to the Weta Workshop in NZ, Hasbro announced a partnership for a new Middle-earth game, which I think is really cool.
I mean, doesn't involve anyone that made the Shadow of War and Shadow of what's the other one? Shadow of War, Shadow of something. Anyway, it's not involving those games. It's not
No,
those.
Yeah,
but
it's not a Lord of the Ring
they
game,
released
right?
some other cool games as well, like Lord of the Rings. I forget the name of it. There was a really cool one that was a really decent one. I think on PS2 or something that a lot of people wanted to get a sequel to.
Well, they made the trilogy of games, the movie tie-in games that people actually did like back then. Like these
some are
days,
really
they're probably a
good.
bit too simplistic. War in the North was a decent little co-op action RPG.
Okay.
But then, there's other games in the series that haven't been that, well, other games in that universe haven't been that great. But yeah, it's the fact that Private Division, I mean, that's a subsidiary of 2K, so there's going to be a lot of money behind it, or a decent amount of money, and obviously Weta being involved is awesome. So
Nice.
You guys should check out their workshop. Really cool spot. Warner Brothers and Portkey Games have also announced that Hogwarts, which I think a few of us were excited about, is now delayed until Feb 10. Hopefully, they're not going to delay it even more after that. Man, that game looks
I'm fine
really
with the
good.
delay, but
I'm okay with it too.
it was more just like, I think, because I've got this bloody resolution to play all
You've
the
also
game
got
with.
such beautiful eyes.
I do. I have like this resolution to play all of the. I'm trying not to open my mouth too much. So I've got this resolution to play all of the Game of the Year nominees, and it just feels like this year's going to be like a weird one. Like
Open my mouth,
I
baby.
created the graphic before. What are potentially going to be the 6 Game of the Year nominees? Like Elden Ring's a lock. I think God of War Ragnarok, even though I don't think that will get like a great Metacritic score, I think that's almost a lock as well.
Rise of the Third Power.
we say God of War won't get a good Metacritic score.
And that's my gut feel. I just think people are
Really?
turning on these games at the moment. Like when I say that,
There's only been one of them, as in that style.
yeah. But like just the way that people received Horizon Zero Dawn, pretty much across the board, everyone's like, it's better, and they got a worse score. And I don't know, just something about it. I got the vibe that, people's reaction to some of the footage, they're like, oh, this is just recycled assets and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. There's a bit of a anti-PlayStation thing going on with the media at the moment. It's quite interesting.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, like we'll see, but I think that's a lock. But the other 4 spots, man, they're so open. Like, and Hogwarts would have definitely slotted in.
Excuse me, Rise of the Third Power.
I mean, that could actually honestly get a nomination for RPG category. That
I'm
could-
going to
Maybe.
play it, and I'll nominate it.
Yeah, not even that many RPGs came out this year, Swinny, right? It's crazy. It's a funny year. This year feels like it's really been affected by COVID, Like, imagine if Elden Ring was released last year. Like, it could have. It was 1 month difference. It would have been a crazy year. So, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to Hogwarts.
Cool. The one thing for me, so from their business stories, and there's been a bit of an update on this, but the whole stuff of going like Unity's been in the news so much this week. So first of all, they won a contract with an agency that works with the US government to produce simulations. So now I don't know what that involves. I don't know if they're just giving them the engine tech, the Unity stuff to then do that. That's probably all it involves. But even then, it's obviously there's a lot of ethical stuff there, and there's a lot of people apparently, at Unity, employees that are obviously not happy with that. I wouldn't be happy if I worked at
game
Unity in
devs
that
as
situation.
well.
But
Yeah, interesting one.
it's like, it's a really weird one. But they're also, so there was a big software company, AppLovin, that I'm not familiar with, but they had, made a public, no, they made an offer to basically say they'd be willing to buy Unity, because I think I can't remember. There's another company that they're kind of. There's another business deal that's happening with Unity, basically, and they were like, it would kind of cut into that. But it's really weird. It's like now, Unity turned around and said then they wouldn't consider that offer, and that's like a $17 billion offer. So there's just a lot of news about Unity, like in the same week.
Yeah, I think like I said it before, these engines will it all start consolidating around Unreal Engine and Unity. It's already like happening. You can go to Steam charts and actually look at the engines that are driving the games. And it's like crazy how many games are powered by Unity and Unreal. It's like
So this
85% or something nuts like that now.
And Unity, I mean, the mobile market is massive.
Massive, yeah.
And yeah, so this is what I was talking about. So currently, Unity is in the midst of plans to merge with another mobile tech company, IronSource. And apparently, the reason why is because of the way that IronSource delivers their ad technology and stuff. So
Great. Brilliant.
yeah,
need
lots
more
of money going around. And I mean, they're headed up by John Riccitelli, or however you say it, who used to be the EA CEO, I think. So yeah.
The biggest thing for me this week that I was almost tempted to make this a full story in the show, but then it would have been way too dominated from me, is the cheat code that was discovered in the SNES game Super Punch Out.
It's absolutely insane.
Now,
What,
this is
after all this time? How?
after 28 years. So there'd been other cheat codes that hadn't been discovered that had been announced around, the Japanese language and a few other things. And it's actually, weirdly enough, the same pattern. It's just pressing different buttons. But this enables a single-player game to turn into a two-player game.
What the F?
on
Are
the
you serious?
original-
After 28 years on the original?
So wild.
On the
This
original
is
hardware.
Crazy.
This is not
But
like
that's like
a
a
mod.
whole core feature of a game
Yeah.
that
and
you would basically
you can even do it
have.
on the
Wow.
SNES Online, Switch Online version.
Wow.
And you can choose to play any of the opponents. And then the other thing is, then you can also choose to have one of the players be the opponent and press the buttons to do the moves of the opponents. It's
So basically
what
a two-player
the fuck?
game. Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's like,
Wow.
why, Swinny, it's like, what, why is this something that they don't think is fun that they would incorporate in the game properly? It
I mean,
seems so
people,
strange.
people are, saying it was probably just for debugging, but
100% it
regardless.
was. Yeah, 100%
But
it was.
the crazy thing to me is that, I don't know much about how coding works, or especially in classic games and stuff. But the fact, if you remember, you used to have the Game Genie, Game Shark, and all these kind of plugins that used to often, they would they would modify the code and stuff sometimes, but they would also unlock a lot of the debug modes and things like that. The
Yeah.
fact that even back then, they didn't find that stuff when cheat codes were a thing in games that you looked for, because
Yeah.
cheat codes aren't a thing in games anymore. So
And how none of
that's
the
wild.
devs went, hey, by the way.
Well, I mean, it's Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo is super
Yeah.
secretive, but
Yeah.
it's also the other thing, Swinny, is this is not a minor game, right? I kind of would understand this if
Pretty
it's
huge,
some niche game. This is from memory, definitely top 20, top 10 seller on the console.
If this was like a new secret code for uni races, people would be like, oh, big deal,
Exactly. Uni Rally for our friends overseas.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the fact that it's in a major Nintendo title, and I'm sure people have mucked around, decompiled the game. I'm kind of shocked that no one ever discovered because the screen is very unique as well, where you select the fighter. It's yeah, maybe it's just something about the way the code is, super interesting news. I haven't had a chance to try this out.
Amazing
I'll
after
definitely try
28
this
years.
out when I
Wow.
see you guys next.
Are there any other major games like that they haven't discovered everything in? Where I'm trying to no. Is it not obviously not something like this? But
What
I
is
know
the
there are
question?
some. So there's some games that have come out more recently where I forget the one particular game where the developer said no, you haven't discovered all the secrets.
Near Automata.
Yeah, definitely near. There was another one, but yeah,
Oh, so
stuff like that. I think is really cool.
it
that-
actually sounded like you're asking what other games have undiscovered secrets.
No,
That's the way you were
obviously
sort of
not. I
saying
mean,
it.
it's impossible to know. But
I mean,
but
there was, I
games where
think-
there's still stuff left.
I think there was a hidden wall. I think it was Arkham City. I think one of the Batman Arkham games had a hidden wall that nobody found for years.
I love that.
That was a famous one. I'm trying to think of any others. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but
Hey,
that was one of them.
we're well off track, but one thing, with Lateralis, the Tool album, Swinny, supposedly there's some Easter eggs in the Lateralis album that people still haven't worked out. And Tool said this in a few interviews recently.
They somehow put the human genome code in, among the lyrics or something.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's crazy. Anything else, Mike?
No, nothing else that I would say blows my mind as a bit of news. I did actually get I got a mate who's a bit of a fan of Nintendo 64 as well, and the fact that Switch Online added Wave Race 64, and he got super excited about that and messaged me
That is an
along
awesome
the
game.
lines of, "I know you don't give a shit" or something like that, but I'm so excited about this. And I'm like, I actually remember that game. I do remember that game, even though I never had it at 64.
I wish Nintendo would do a new Wave Race. Like, even if you kind of bundle it in, okay, do it as part of like a new Pilot Wings, where like the jet ski is one of the vehicles or something like that. That'd be cool. Like just the way they did the wave mechanics. And I didn't play enough of, was it Blue Storm, the GameCube Wave Race? But I think that's the last one that they made.
Still to this day, the wave effect is really cool in Wave Race 64. And on that hardware, it's freaking insane that they were able to do that. It was the best water effects for that whole period of time. So there was one other for me. Like, it does seem through the new, because Spider-Man just got released on Steam. It's going gangbusters, not quite as good as God of War, but that was no slouch. Massive new revenue stream for Sony, definitely there. But people are like pulling apart the code as they do. It's PC, and this is the pros and cons of PC. And it does seem like there's lots of little things in Spider-Man, including like with the FAQs and a whole bunch of other stuff that are starting to indicate that you may be able to log in through your PSN account. And then people are also finding things where it seems like maybe they're setting it up for trophy support. So you're actually able to pop trophies on PC and link that into your actual PSN profile, which...
Well, then I guess it makes sense if you have to sign in.
Yeah, so I
Willing
mean...
to do that. I'd rather not have to do that because, I just want to download a game on Steam, play it kind of thing. But I get it if there's trophies involved and stuff.
But it's getting close to kind of what I was calling out, that, it's effectively, the little PlayStation handheld. It's a Vita 2 almost situation happening in the Steam Deck.
Funny for you, you were backing out that Anbernic system that I was talking about earlier.
Can it run Spider-Man?
It can actually run Spider-Man, and I think it ran it like, I swear to God, and I'll send you a video after this. Yeah, just go search, it'll be on YouTube. Hang on.
Man, this is not a cheap device. It wouldn't surprise me if you can run some decent games.
It's like $600. That is a cheap device.
Oh, 500
That is not
something, yeah.
I'm sorry, $600 for a handheld
It's a
is not
portable.
cheap.
No,
Yeah.
no.
That's not too far off the price of a bloody PS5 and Series X, man. Like,
Yeah, but not for...
yeah, but I'm saying it's not
Did you
cheap.
find it?
I don't consider $500 cheap for a handheld. Sorry.
I mean to be able to run Spider-Man portably. Like, I doubt
It
very
ran
much.
all right from what I saw. I was really
Anyway,
surprised.
I've got
at-
zero
at the
interest in
performance.
these, like the Chinese clone handhelds consoles. They like always break.
No, but the Anbernic stuff is a I would call it a branded thing by now. They've done a
it's
lot of
good,
different devices.
cheap
No, they
Chinese
are. They're actually
clone
not.
stuff.
They're pretty good. They've done a lot of decent
I mean, half
devices.
the shit we buy electronically is made
Yeah,
in
exactly.
China, man. So
Yeah, but
No,
there's
it's
a,
not a-
there's a
it's a
huge
good brand.
difference. There's a huge difference if it's something that has like a brand like Valve, right?
Oh, yeah,
Versus
QA
like a
would be
no-name
bit
brand.
different.
Like,
No, but the Anbernic have good. I mean,
I know
can only
Anbernic
vouch
stuff.
for
I know
one
Anbernic
device,
stuff.
but they're good enough that I would gamble on something like
I mean,
this.
no brands become a thing by releasing products. So you can't become a known brand by not doing anything. So I know what you're saying, Itigot, but I think maybe it is a decent little thing. I don't know. So obviously it's not an FPGA bloody thing. It's not like for an emulation standpoint, but as a little mini gaming handheld, maybe
Yeah,
it's
just
okay.
a little.
I'll wait till
handheld.
Mike buys it.
Well, you got to keep your expectations low. I mean, I'm looking at this thing, and the frame rate isn't great, and it's obviously on the lowest graphical setting. No, by not great, I mean it's not 10 frames a second. It looks like probably
It's
25-ish. It's playable, but it's obviously we're talking about a game it's relatively recent as a game. So if I was
It's not
to
very
get this,
optimized
I'll
for
probably
PC
be playing.
either.
And there's that as well. I'd be playing older games, not like super old games, but older kind
But
of
you
games
wouldn't
on
because you
this.
got the Pocket. You never play it either.
No, but the Pocket because of the limitations on the Pocket.
There's what
until-
limitations?
Until now, So
There you go.
yeah. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe for my birthday, you guys just throwing it out there.
Your birthday's my birthday's earlier than your birthday.
Yeah, but just throwing it out there. Just saying.
What, you want
0%
us to
chance.
buy you a $500 Anbernic
Yeah,
gaming
cheap,
handheld?
cheap but expensive Chinese
Maybe.
clone console. I'm never going to buy that. Can you buy it? Because then once you buy it, the Steam Deck will get announced. So
Yeah,
can
I
you
know
please
that's
buy it this
exactly what's
week
gonna
for
bloody
everyone in
happen.
Australia? So, Swinny, what's your thoughts on? Should we? I guess I'll just press this button. With the new wrap up segment, what do you think we should do next time?
I actually like the way I like, we'll get a bit better, but I like the idea of just saying, okay, well, we'll just put whatever the rest of the headlines are, and anything we want to talk about, we talk about.
All right.
Like people are definitely going to understand it more than what we're doing. I liked 1min and Minute Mike. I think at some point it kind of ran its course where it just became
How can we piss off Swinny?
like it's just hard to no one can hear anything really unless we stop to talk about it. But even when we stopped to talk about it, we didn't always like reiterate the actual fact point about what maybe the headline was. So I think that's my take, and maybe we could at some point put the call out and say, hey, if there's any other topics people want us to talk about, and obviously they're going to be off the cuff, probably uninformed takes, but they're just our
Like our regular takes.
no, but like we at least like look at the stories a bit closer when we're talking about them on the show as segments. Just looking at a headline, you can give a take, but you kind of got no details. Like I did with the whole Unity thing, I probably should have known a bit more about that before I talked about it. So.
No, fair enough. Maybe like an a la carte thing. Maybe we need to rotate next time. Like rotate what's the most, what we're each passionate about or whatever. I just love that.
No, I think it's just the kind of thing, like we're just wrapping up the news, so it doesn't need to be super formal or anything. So.
Okay.
I'm on mute. That just about wraps it up for the show.
I'm like, do you want me to keep talking? What's going on here?
I love the dead
I
air.
didn't realize it was
I love
me.
the dead air.
It's all good. It's all good. End of the show. It's very late at night. Thanks everyone for tuning in once again. Don't have anything planned for next week, or technically this week potentially, but yeah, we'll see you all very soon. Ciao.
See ya.
Bye-bye.